Greetings, this is Christine Van Pelt, Gibson County, Indiana, State Coordinator and Lead Recording Secretary for the Indiana Assembly. And we are continuing with Declaration of 76, United States Constitution, Common Lawyer Comments, clause by Brent Allen Winters. All right. We're continuing. We're on Section 9, Clause 4. No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid, unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. Comment. This clause remains in force. Congress must allot the burden of any direct tax among the states in proportion to their populations. A direct tax is an unavoidable tax. One cannot escape its burden by either shifting it to another or without forfeiting one's right to life, liberty, or property. For example, a flat tax on each and every person, here called a capitation, also called a head or poll tax, is a direct tax because it can neither be shifted to another nor avoided without giving up one's right to life. In fact, a capitation tax taxes a person for being alive. It is tax on his life. The burden of such a tax being unavoidable is direct, and therefore Congress must allot it among the states in proportion to the most recent census. A government capitation or poll tax offended our Constitution's ratifiers because they saw, as did the ancient Israelites of Rome's poll tax, that it encroached upon God's poll tax. See Exodus 30:11-16, followed by Matthew 22:17 and Mark 12:14. So also any tax on income by food, clothing, shelter, or money to buy clothes, called life's necessaries, because these are necessary to sustain life, is also a direct tax, avoidable unless one forfeits one's right to life. Because one can avoid a tax on profit gain by refusing to make a profit, a tax on a man's profit need not be distributed among the states, each in proportion to its population. But a tax on life's necessaries does not tax profit or gain, and therefore being unavoidable is direct, requiring allotment among the states. Bottom line, any tax upon a person by virtue of his being alive, poll tax, or upon those things necessary to keep him alive, example, health care, or his living, food, clothing, shelter, is a tax upon his life, and therefore being unavoidable unless he forfeits his right to life, is a direct tax requiring distribution of its burden among the states according to population. Likewise, a tax on an even trade, a clean swap having neither profit nor gain, is a direct tax requiring apportionment of its burden among the states, such as compensation in money, goods, or services for time, work, or services rendered. Where an amendment to the Constitution has changed an original provision, commentators sometimes drop a footnote, such as changed by amendment. However, regarding the foregoing clause, editors often add a note directing the reader to Amendment 16, but never suggest it has changed the foregoing clause or Congress's power to tax. In fact, it has not. Amendment 16 is nevertheless troublesome because, among other reasons, its ratification is poorly attested at best. To add confusion, government hirelings and dependents unable to argue well from early Supreme Court Amendment 16 cases try to argue that the more recent tax code clears up or otherwise trumps the Supreme Court's earlier findings based on the common law first principles behind our Constitution. Legislation, however, always muddles more than makes clear. In sum, This clause requires Congress to distribute the burden of any direct tax, i.e., an unavoidable tax, among the states in proportion to each state's population. Thus, a tax on income, whether profit, increase in worth, or gain, increase in inflated dollars, but decrease in worth, is constitutional if Congress fixes the amount of money to be raised and then allots that burden among the states in proportion to their populations. A tax on profit need not be allotted because Amendment 16 never says it repeals any part of our Constitution. We must understand that that amendment says the Supreme Court in line with this foregoing clause. In fact, Amendment 16 reinforces this clause. The sharp disagreements over income taxation result from the confusion that all three branches of the general government, foster by refusing to grab the nettle with the bare hand and decide the weightier questions. Unconstitutional income tax collection now emboldens government lawlessness, drawing swarms of ignorant clerks, unprincipled agents, and dishonorable bureaucrats, striking fear and confusion into elected officials, judges, and jurors, resulting in wholesale disrespect for the Bill of Rights and low tax revenues. See this handbook, U.S. Declaration of 76, Section 19, U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, and Amendment 16 and comments discussing the power to tax. Section 9, Clause 5, no tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. Comment. In this clause, exported means shipped from one state to a sister state or a foreign country. The southern states feared that the new general government would tax their farm exports and destroy their welfare. This clause bars such a task. Like the Commerce Clause, it aims to keeping government from putting any damper on commerce between sister states and other countries. See this handbook, U.S. Declaration of 76, Section 18, and comment. Section 9, Clause 6, no preference shall be given by any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another. Nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obliged to enter, clear, or pay duties to another. Comment. This clause bars any state from taxing a ship coming to that state from a sister state. It further bars Congress from making a law concerning trade that favors one state over another because such favoritism hampers interstate commerce, disrupting its free flow regularity. Section 9, Clause 7, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law. And a regular statement and account of receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. Comment. This clause bars anyone in any of the three branches of government from spending any national government money without Congress's consent. In addition, the general government must publish financial statements from time to time, i.e., as often as the people by their representatives in Congress demand. In all events, Congress alone must hold the purse strings. Congress's power of the purse, however, is now of no effect because the Federal Reserve Bank now bypasses Congress by printing money for any war or welfare it desires to effect political manipulation. Section 9, Clause 8. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept of any present emolument office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Comment. This clause bars the general government from giving anyone a title of nobility inheritable by blood, such as count or countess, duke or duchess, baron or baroness, etc. Note well, this clause does not bar titles of common respect and honor. Mrs. or Mr., ma'am or sir for men and women, miss or master, or for boys and girls, or even Kentucky Colonel. Such titles of common respect are not inherited by blood descent. Further, national officials may never accept any gift, office payment, or title from a foreign power without getting Congress's consent. An attorney on the rolls of a federal court holds an office of trust under the United States, and as such, this clause bars him from accepting anything from any foreign power. However, the title squire or esquire is barred to such an attorney only if a foreign power has granted it, and if not, it carries the significance as a lawful title of respect. Mr. or Miss, Mrs. or Mr., ma'am or sir for men and women, miss or master for boys or girls. This clause, however, does not apply to an attorney license or practice before the courts of one of the several states. Titles of nobility carry three dangers. The privileges they carry are hereditary by blood. When from a foreign power they encourage splitting of loyalty from the United States, they deem noble those who are not, thereby usurping the place of God. Thus, because the U.S. recognizes the Vatican to be a sovereign state, any title and attorney allowed to practice before the federal courts who accepts from the orders or organization of the Vatican are a clear violation of this clause. To bar such an attorney's acceptance of any kind, emolument, office, or title, or of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. The following related amendment, proposed in 1810, was likely ratified in 1819, but is contested. It forbids split loyalties, such as dual citizenship, which now invades even the president's cabinet and federal bench. If observed, it would root the disloyal from national and state government. If any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall, without the consent of Congress, accept or retain any present, pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them. Section 10, Clause 1. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Comment. Though each of the several states is sovereign respecting its sister states, foreign countries, and the general government, this clause allocates the powers it lists to the general government. Our Constitution never says whether a state has the right to withdraw from the Union of States. The foregoing clause, however, taken in its plain sense, does bar any of the several states of the Union from entering a confederation with any other nation, or with any of its sister states. If a state does withdraw from the Union, as the southern states once did, our Constitution would no longer bind the withdrawing state. Thus, it would be free to confederate with sister states having withdrawn or with other countries. Though men such as Senators Sam Houston of Texas, Thomas Hart Benton of Missouri, Henry Clay of Kentucky, and Southern Confederacy President Jefferson Davis's home county by majority vote opposed secession, others held that the general government, by abandoning common law first principles, had breached our Constitution, thereby justifying state secession. In all events, each state has kept all the powers of sovereignty our Constitution never allots to the general government. In short, the federal government has only those powers our Constitution lists, these and no others, these and no more. No state shall emit bills of credit, bars any state from issuing paying paper money. This clause phrase, tender in payment of debts, called legal tender, is that which the law deems to satisfy a debt once tendered or offered to the creditor, whether he accepts it or not. This clause bars any of the several states from not only coining money, but also from requiring that the mere tendering, offering of paper money for payment of a debt, even if never accepted, will satisfy the debt. However, a state can require, says this clause, that the debtor's offering tender of the right amount of in gold and silver coin shall satisfy this debt, whether or not the creditor accepts it. Indeed, under common law's freedom of contract, a creditor can accept anything he wants in payment of a debt, or even forgive it. It follows, therefore, that if the general government, whether by statute or protected banking monopoly, requires the people to accept paper banknotes in payment of debts, it forces the states to violate under unconstitutional force this clause of our Constitution. To ensure defeat of this clause's requirements, national law has for more than 100 years given the Board of the Federal Reserve Bank unconstitutional self-serving control, and from 1933 to 1978 barred enforcement of gold clauses, contracts for payment of debts in gold, see 31 U.S.C. subsection 5118 D2, repealing this bar. In fact, legislation forbids auditing the Federal Reserve Bank. Hence, their power being absolute, their lawlessness runs amok. To sum up, our Constitution demands that the state courts can enforce a creditor's offer, tender, only of gold and silver coin for payment of debts. This does not bar a creditor from accepting other kinds of payment, but it does bar state courts from enforcing an offer of any other kind of payment other than gold and silver coin to satisfy debt. This clause's required satisfaction of debt by tender of gold and silver coin will arrest both inflation and counterfeiting. Federal and Reserve bankers, however, by printing, issuing, and manipulating paper money, so-called, keep the people unsettled and guessing about the worth of their dollar, rob it of supposed worth through inflation, and foster counterfeiting, paper notes being easy imitated. Most sinister of all, however, Federal Reserve bankers, by displacing real money with mere paper and then devaluing it, encourage hoarding of gold and silver, driving these from circulation, further undermining our country's stability and prosperity. Gold and silver coin, said Sam Johnson, destroys feudal subordination. Accordingly, our Constitution bars government from forcing the use of any other kind of money upon Americans. This contract clause says no state shall pass any law impairing, weakening, the obligation promises of contracts. The Supreme Court in the famous Dartmouth College case upheld this protection concerning the British Crown's 1769 granting of the charter to establish Dartmouth College. See Dartmouth College v. Woodward, 17 U.S.C. 4 Wheat, 518, 1819. Dartmouth's character had the court being an enforceable promise is a contract at common law, and therefore this contract clause protects it. Dartmouth, by enforcing this contract clause, binds courts to enforcing the boundless benefits of promises kept, thereby bolstering confidence to associate with others in contracts. Just as Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 bars the United States from granting any title of nobility, so also this clause bars any state from doing so. All right, we'll see you on the next call. In peace and love.